Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is the encouraging word for today. Now, when I receive mail, either physical mail in the mail or email or even a text message, there are different types of things that I receive. For example, this week I received a letter from the gas and electric company. I also, this past week, received a text message from one of my granddaughters. Now, I look at the bill or the letter from the electric company differently than I look at the text message from my granddaughter. The electric company is just giving me some information, but the text message from my granddaughter is giving me a relationship, giving me her heart, and I give her back my heart. So it's different. It's an approach to reading or understanding what we have. So when we come to the Bible, the question is, what approach or how do we read it? Do we read it like we're getting information from the Bible? Or do we read it like we're getting a text message from someone who loves us and who we love? Is it a relationship? Is it a connection type of text message or letter? Or is it just an informational or even an advertising kind of thing? We look at it differently. So ask yourself today, when you read the Bible, how do you read it? Do you read it as coming from someone who loves you? Or do you read it as just information? Maybe information on how you have to behave yourself, something like that. What are the rules and regulations? That's how I read the Bible. Or do you read it as someone you're in a relationship with, expressing their love? Now, I looked at the letter from the electric company real quick. They wanted to set up an appointment to examine the meter. I filed it away somewhere. I didn't spend any time on it. The text message from my granddaughter, I read it over and over because in it, she said, "I love you, Grandpa." And it still touches me emotionally that out of the blue, she would send me a text message saying, "I love you, Grandpa." And so I read it. I showed it to my wife. I read it again, and I'll probably go back and read it now that I'm remembering it. So we look at it differently. Did you know that the Bible is actually a love letter to you and to me? Now, in real life, sometimes we're waiting to receive that love letter, and it never comes. Sometimes we're waiting to receive that text message from a friend or a grandchild or a parent or a brother or sister, and it never comes. I've been in that situation, and there's an emptiness, and we're waiting, but it never comes. But the Bible is God's love letter to us. It's God's text message, if you will, to us. And when we approach it that way, when we read the Bible, as if it's from a friend, from someone who loves us, for someone who we love, we start to understand the Bible in a different way, on a different level. So we slow down, first of all, so we can understand. We savor every word. We go back. We think about it. It brings memories to our mind. We interact with it. That's the way that's the way to read the Bible, because it's God's love letter to us. And a perfect example of that is found in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 1, which says this: "Dear friends, this is now my second letter to you. I've written both of them as reminders to stimulate you to wholesome thinking. So let's break that. Let's slow down as if this is a text message from someone we love, who loves us, and let's savor each word. He starts with, dear friends. Now that's not just a greeting. The word that's actually used is the word loved ones, agapetai. We'll get the Greek word agape, unconditionally loved. So it's as if he's saying, dear unconditionally loved ones. We're loved ones. So it's coming as a love letter. It's God's love letter to us. And here he's writing to these people, in this book of 2 Peter, he's writing it out of love. He's calling them my loved ones. He loves them. And you know what? We know many people who are Christians. We are Christians. Maybe we're in the same church. How wonderful it would be to text people every once in a while and say, hey, hope you're doing well, just thinking about you, praying for you. I appreciate you. Things like that. That's what Peter is doing. He's writing to them as dear friends, loved ones. So he says, this is now my second letter to you. Now, it may not sound like a big deal sending 2 letters. Wow, big deal. Takes 20 minutes, right? Not the way they had to write in those days. Not the way they had to send letters by a messenger to deliver it. Not the way writing materials were scarce in those times. It was very valuable to have a letter from anybody. It was a valuable thing. They didn't just throw things in the garbage. That was unheard of. To have a letter was a major event. This was his second letter to them. So God's love is all over this. And just think of what God did to have the Bible so we could read it. The Bible has been the most hated book, the book in the history of mankind that's been tried to be destroyed the most, and yet God has kept it alive. And it's in every language, almost every language now. It's spread everywhere. And when you understand the process of how God communicated through different people in different times, all his message clear. You see, this was something that was not just an afterthought by God, but this was an intricate method of expressing his concern. And then the preservation of the Bible to the present really shows how God is intent on expressing his love to each one of us. And then Peter says, I have written both of the letters as reminders to stimulate you to wholesome thinking. Not as condemnation. It's just a reminder. Reminder of what? A reminder how much God loves you. A reminder how God is with you. A reminder how Jesus will never leave you or forsake you. The Bible is full of reminders that we need all the time. Sometimes I need a text message from my granddaughter saying, I love you, Grandpa. It reminds me. And we need to have these reminders. We get them as we read the Bible and read it that way as a message of love to us. He reminds us. He reminds us. He stimulates us. He stimulates to wholesome thinking. Wholesome thinking is pure, clean, good, right thinking. It's something good for us. The goal is to stimulate us to something good. So think of the Bible in that way. Use the Bible in that way. My goal today is to remind you, to stimulate you, to have you think how God cares for you, how God loves you, how God will be with you no matter what you are facing, how God will always be by your side. So I encourage you today, God is with you. God loves you. He's sending you a message through me to you to remind you how much you matter to him And I challenge you also. Be an instrument of God's love. Send them a text message. Give someone a call just thinking about you. I wanted to pray for you. I really appreciate you. And do what Peter was doing with the people he was writing to. Do what God has done in preserving his words so you and I could read them and be stimulated to know that we are loved ones and be stimulated to wholesome thinking. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow on Facebook Live.